STAKK Nation, welcome back to the channel.
Champions.
What are we doing today, man? Another reaction video?
It seems like that's how we're gonna be doing this week. We have to get some responses back to the people.
Okay, well, I like reaction videos anyway. So
Talking of
there you go.
reaction, I'm about to react to this.
Oh yeah, man, look at that. Double O.
Boom.
Joining the Captain Hat community, the Chief Hat community. I feel like we're gonna make these hats
The new big thing.
the new big thing. I mean, we're trendsetters, man. We're setting a new trend. Is what we're saying here. We're definitely setting a new trend. So, what are we looking at today?
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson
Yes, sir.
and his take on Bitcoin.
It's taking Bitcoin. Quite interesting.
Okay, well, let's look at this thing and give our shebang. Let's see what's happening here.
Bang bang.
Right. So, let's jump right into this.
Attractive to people. You see, there was a point to all that.
Yeah.
Part of the reason
Attract the
that
whole room
Bitcoin is
around the
attractive to people is because we all have the sense right now, and that's certainly part of the reason why so many of you are here tonight, is that there's a little bit too much tyranny going on, and that's the collusion of large-scale enterprises at the top. And so there are attempts to push back on that by developing decentralized systems, and the idea that we could develop a decentralized standard of universal value, which is what money is very interesting idea. I've done what I could to think through the Bitcoin proposition, and it makes sense, but that doesn't mean it's right. You know, I went to a Bitcoin conference a while back, and it was full of Bitcoin enthusiasts, and of course all they wanted to hear was enthusiastic things about Bitcoin, and fair enough, you know, because it's not like I'm a great fan of the fiat currency that allows governments to print money and inflate away value, because that punishes people who are sensible and who make the proper sacrifices. It's inflationary, as you're all seeing right now. It's a very bad idea. And to give the centralizers that power, I think it's not a good idea. Now, that doesn't mean that Bitcoin is the right solution. And part of the problem with introducing a radical solution like Bitcoin, and it's radical because it would change the way we undertake all our trade, is that...
I want to stop here real quick, and let's just look at some of the things that Jordan Peterson has said here that I guess we could say things that align with the messages that we try to share every day. This idea of centralized power, right, and this idea of tyranny with central planners, and this idea of having a decentralized system as a solution to all of this tyranny. I think so far he is spot on with all of those points. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he probably just took that out of my brain. That's exactly what I was thinking, is that I think people, you and I, probably one of the reasons why you're watching the channel right now is that you're starting to realize the tyranny that is going on, the authoritarianism that is going on in a democratic type environment. And people are like, it should not be this way. Right? So human beings in general, once pushed against the wall, will fight back. It's just a normal human reflex.
Yeah.
Or they'll find a way to survive. It's just, that's why we all survive, and that we've all become the kind of humans that we have today. Right? So when we've been fought at, you and I, been fought at through our financial, our religious, whatever call it, strategy, we eventually come up with some solution. That's just why you have all these different religions as well, even different versions of Christianity.
Right.
Let me not go and start explain the long story like Jordan did in this video.
You know.
But Decentralized systems was implemented to help push back against those tyranny. And one of those decentralized systems was Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, one of the first ones, or the main ones that survived the initial fight against the monetary control. And the fiat system, which is right, if you want to understand fiat systems, we'll talk about these videos as well,
Right.
is inflationary. What is inflation? Basically, you take money, you put it away, but by the time you go back to use that money, it's worth less. That is inflation. Simple as that.
Right.
The value of your money keeps going lower and lower, whereas the cost of goods keeps going up. Another explanation of inflation. And we have to fight back because we cannot work hours and hours in a day, don't sleep, store that value, and then the use of that value is gone by the time you get there. So we want to change that radical process. But we all know change doesn't come easy. And I keep using this example all the time. Each time you plant a seed in the soil, it takes a radical process for that seed to become a plant. When you give birth, let's not even go there. Some people don't pull out. Pull out of the fiat system.
Jesus Christ, that took a turn. That took a turn.
If you don't pull out, it takes a radical process.
Oh my God, man.
9 months.
Oh my God.
And the process of burning that baby is
Listen,
radical.
man, this man was going on with a nice, lengthy monologue. I was like, oh man, this man is in his bag now. And all of a sudden, wow.
You gotta pull out this fiat system, man. Pull
Well-
out. You don't want that radical inflation.
But you get the point. You get the point. Okay, let's play on. Let's play on.
It probably won't do just the things you think it will do, right? Because when you change a system that is so complex you don't understand it, like when you disrupt the supply chain to hypothetically control COVID, all sorts of things happen that you don't expect, which is what conservatives always remind liberals. It's like, don't be thinking that your revolutionary change is only going to bring about the positive things that you envision, because you don't know what you're mucking about with.
This is a very good point, and I want to just point out, this is what I guess in project management, in the project management world, some people would refer to this as systems of systems, right? Just because something seems like it's a solution to the issues you're having does not mean that it's always going to be all good. There are other consequences that can come from this. For example, yes, we want decentralization, but this means that you have to deal with what may seem like an inconvenience, which really should not be considered an inconvenience. But it now seems like an inconvenience to run your own Bitcoin node, to go pick up this device and have to manage it yourself instead of just giving your money to the bank and getting charged some fees. Excuse me. And sometimes your value just getting lost. Others using your money to, play whatever games they will with it. Including
Trading.
trading it all the way up to using your value as a means to control you and enslave you.
Yeah.
So there'll be definitely unintended consequences, right? When the idea of a bank first started, all these other things were not considered, but these are the unintended consequences of that system, which again, it's opportunity cost, right? But when we make this shift, we all have to ask ourselves, what is more important to us? What are your values? Because the way you invest and where you spend your time and money is a direct reflection on what is valuable to you.
Yep.
So while there are inconveniences and uncertain things that will come with Bitcoin, I don't think that we should always think that it's going to be all good.
Oh, roses.
We have to take the bad with it as well. And I think that is somewhere that Bitcoin maxis could use some more mental training.
I'd like to add to that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the impacts of implementing Bitcoin right away as we all know, when change happens, other impacts around the world,
Yes.
is the creation of Ethereum and all this other altcoin.
Right.
It was a reactionary, like it was a problem solved, but people thought they have all the types of solutions similar to that problem, which created the entire Ethereum environment.
Right.
So that right there is already what you see when that happens.
Exactly.
You know?
Okay. Well, let's push on here with this one. Is that the main part of this one?
No, that's still more.
And so we could, in principle, and this seems to be what's happening, is allow a variety of currencies to battle with one another on the competitive landscape. And we sort of have that internationally because every currency has to trade against every other currency. And now we've added cryptocurrency to that mix. And that seems to me to be a good experimental option. And maybe Bitcoin will aggregate to itself the value that its adherents claim. But that remains to be seen, and it doesn't mean it's a pathway without pitfalls, right? Because we imagine Bitcoin was successful, and all of a sudden we never had any control over, we really never were able to exercise control over our monetary system again. Because that's what it would mean. Because it really is decentralized. And if Bitcoin and the blockchain technology truly obtained the upper hand, we would have put our economic system outside of the political domain. Now, you can make a case that maybe that would be an okay thing, right? Because you don't...
Before he says anything, would that be a bad thing?
No, go back. No. Yes and no. All right, so
that?
remember at the beginning of that sentence? At the beginning of that sentence, it mentioned that it's to go away from our political, governmental control. So if you guys pay attention, they keep saying this each and every single time. Control, control, control. So governments operate through control of the people, but they're no longer just controlling your people, they're now also controlling your finances and your money, right? Which is your value, which means that in a way, we're all servants of the government. The government wants us to work, which is why they say, you're going to school to go get a job. Get a job so that you can work in the system. To work in the system so that you can pay the taxes, so that the government can keep running. But at the same time, the same government gets to print money and send to Ukraine any way they want. Whereas you can use that same money to fix your government. So that is number one there. So question is that a good thing if Bitcoin allows the government no longer to control your money?
Yes.
And you can be a free sovereign person.
I think it's a good thing, okay? Because this is simply the definition of separation of money from state.
Boom, which the founders of America have been trying to do.
Yes, and so when it comes to sending money and budgeting for many other things, it has to be done at a voluntary pace. There must be proof of work. There is no getting around it. You cannot print money just because you have to go fight a war now. There must be proof of work. Everyone has to put in value so that we don't end up in an environment where the national debt is much more than we can all pay if we got taxed at 100%. Okay? That is slavery. Working for free is slavery. I mean, I understand that there's also the point where you could volunteer. But if you're working for free, under laws, it is slavery. So, separation of money from state is very important because then that puts us back in a place where, you see, here's the thing, man. Humans are good. Period. Humans are good. I don't care. People can argue with me about it. Fine. We can set up at different times. Overall, humans are good. And I think that this has been proven over and over again. I cannot tell you, we all know how many times we've seen people find themselves in an unfortunate situation and people donated. There's a reason GoFundMe exists. It's because people like to give. There's a reason why things like PayPal and all these money transfer solutions exist. It's because people like to give. I don't care what the hell you've been told. I don't care what you're seeing on TV. That is what we're seeing on TV. That's the whole point of media. It is designed. It's 80-20. Right? You have 20% of the people
to the work
putting in work that gets exposed to 80% of the people. That's your CNN, your MSNBC, anyone who has power over the media, right? They're in that 20 range. So you have 20% of these people affecting the views of 80% of the population. But the reality of the matter is, just if you look at the inverse of that, right? If you look at, say, let's say something like the adoption process. it only takes about 10 to 20% of adoption for something to pick up that level of steam. Again, it's the same thing. 80%, 20% input, 80% outcome. 80-20 rule is crazy. This is Pareto's rule, right? So it is the same thing here, okay? If there is a separation of money from state, I know people will say things like, oh, well, we still have to pay taxes so that we can maintain these things and we have to fund the government. And so I think that will still happen. But we can never find out if we never give people the opportunity to make it happen. And that is what is happening right now.
It's happening right now in Turkey. It's happening
You know
right
what I'm
now
saying?
in Syria. It's happening
Exactly.
right here. Like
We have seen it.
We're over
Ukraine,
here up in Ukraine right now.
Right.
I mean, people are donating.
Everywhere, right? People have been donating to Africa forever, but it seems that the money just does not make it there because of other people.
Did you know that Tesla paid $15 billion in taxes last year? I mean, people are doing what they got to do.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tesla pays his tax bill. But to add to what you're saying, though, governance, govern, not government and money control and control.
Yeah.
You can still govern people without controlling them through money. And I think Bitcoin is one proof of that, especially when you look at the Bitcoin community and the way people operate.
Right.
You know.
Well,
but it's a good.
do not allow yourself
though.
to be treated like a freaking kid, because when they treat you like a kid, these are the things that they think are reasonable to do. It's not, does not make sense.
Yep.
Don't want the standard of value subordinate to political machination. But it also means that it's no longer subordinate to the collective will, the collective express will of the people as manifested in the electoral process. And we don't know if that would be a good thing. And it's a hell of an experiment to run, because you won't know the outcome until you can't alter the results of the experiment. So, you know, I have some investment in Bitcoin because I'm curious about it, and
I think that's it. It does not, after that, there's no. So, well, what are your final thoughts to wrap this up?
I really like the fact that he said he had some investment in Bitcoin, which is what, again, not financial advice for few folks out there.
Well, if you don't have an investment in Bitcoin at this point, listen, you're not gonna make it.
Hey, the SEC, the SEC is coming after people with all this different nonsense.
It's okay, man. Listen, if you don't have an investment in Bitcoin,
not financial advice.
I can borrow my Bitcoins to you in the future. Just to be paid back with some interest.
Hey, you'll be called the custodian, and then the SEC will come after you.
Well, you know, who knows, man? The SEC is going to have its own battles trying to stay alive. I don't think they'll have time. Listen, I could be in another nation where it's not under the SEC's laws, and I operate under the rules of that nation at that point in time. I can go borrow my Bitcoins to anyone in the world. That is the beauty of this global assets. You see, it cannot be governed by one jurisdiction, is what people need to understand.
The fiat system will say, hey, they have connections and ally.
Listen,
the country is the ally, and they can come and send the FBI and the CIA over there to come and pick you up in a totally different country. Can you guys imagine that?
Listen, man, if you're going to send someone to pick me up in a different country, just make sure that they show up in a comfortable vehicle. Okay, I'm not going to be rolling around in a freaking
highway.
Yes, I want a freaking helicopter to pick me up once we reach the airport to come to your offices to discuss with you, man. I don't think, because here's the problem, bro. We get pushed to this place where everyone has to feel like they're a criminal before anyone has even said what you're doing is a crime. But that is because of some definitions put down by other human beings.
You were saying the other day, some people have gotten to some level like so high up there that they just untouchable, and they just get to create the rules.
Exactly, they create the rules for everyone else. So, it's like when you look at someone like Kim.com. Mm-hmm. This is an example that I keep coming back to. You have the right to create programs. You have the right to write code and deploy as many programs as you want, anywhere you want, anytime you want. How people use that program has nothing to do with you.
Nope.
You cannot send somebody to come raid my building because people have decided to use my creation to do things that affected somebody else's pockets. It's asinine. It's insane. And they only got away with it back then because, well, people were not aware. But we're living in a very different... Listen, this video is getting too long, man. Let's wrap it up here. Final thoughts.
Boom. Boom, boom.
I would love to hang out and stay and keep talking, but at the same time,
Hey man,
you know, we have to be respectful.
JP
of
came
the
with
time.
that Joker jacket, and I figured I come with the Wise Man hat as well.
Okay.
So yeah, man, this guy's making sense with his Bitcoin theory. It's always making sense lately. I'm not sure what juice is drinking, but
Right.
well done, Jordan Peterson.
Cool. Well, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Instagram, STAKKFin, and of course on Facebook, STAKKFin. We're still banned on Twitter, Instagram, Jesus
not
Christ,
Twitter.
and then of course we're on Spotify as well. Until next time, present out.
Double O.